Okay, welcome back to Jay's Retro Toys and Games. I'm Jay, and if you're new here, this is where we dive deep into the forgotten corners of gaming history. The weird, the wonderful, and the wildly ambitious products that shaped our childhoods. Before we get started, a massive shout out to Susan Fit 47 for the many great suggestions of NES accessories to cover. Susan, this video is dedicated to you because the Beeshu Ultimate Superstick was one of your top requests, and honestly, it's long overdue. Today we're talking about the Beeshu Ultimate Superstick, and when I say this thing was ambitious, I mean it. This wasn't just another third-party controller trying to make a quick buck off Nintendo's success. This was a full-sized, arcade-quality joystick that promised to bring the authentic arcade experience right into your living room, and it had features that seemed futuristic for 1989. A build quality that put most third-party accessories to shame, and a price tag that made parents everywhere clutch their wallets. But was it actually any good? And did it live up to the hype? And why did it disappear into obscurity when other third-party controllers became legends? Let's find out on this edition of Jay's Retro Toys and Games. It's the Beeshu Ultimate Superstick controller, next on Jay's Retro Toys and Games. Saturday night, here we are on April 18th, 2026, and I'm your host, Jason DiCanio. This is episode number 115. We have now officially hit 45 episodes in season 4, which I think has become a record, if I'm not mistaken. But we'll look into that much later on and give you that statistic when we come back on our next episode. Tonight, we look at something that, of course, Susan Fit 47 suggested amongst her list of NES accessories. The Beeshu Ultimate Superstick. The arcade stick that tried to revolutionize NES gaming. So it's 1985, and Nintendo launches, of course, the NES in North America after the video game crash of 1983. The industry is still recovering, retailers are skeptical, and Nintendo knows they need to do something special. They bundle the NES with Rob the Robot, the Zapper Light Gun, and of course the standard rectangular controller. That iconic gray brick with the red buttons and the cross-shaped D-pad that left imprints on your thumbs after hours of play. The NES controller was revolutionary for its time, simple, functional, and effective. But it wasn't ergonomic. And after long sessions of Contra or Mega Man, your hands would cramp up. The sharp corners dug into your palms. And for players used to arcade cabinets with big joysticks and satisfying buttons, the NES controller felt like a compromise. Well, this opened the door for third-party manufacturers. Companies like Acclaim, Camerica, and Beeschu saw an opportunity. Acclaim had wireless controllers that devoured batteries. Camerica had the Freedom Stick. Nintendo themselves released the NES Advantage. But in this crowded market, one company was about to make a serious statement: Beeschu. Beeschu was a California company that emerged during the NES boom of the late 1980s. They weren't a massive corporation. They were a scrappy underdog built by gamers who believed they could make better accessories than what was on the market. Their philosophy was simple: give gamers options, quality, and features that the big companies weren't offering. Their first success was the Zipper controller, an enhanced NES controller with turbo functionality. It wasn't revolutionary, but it worked well and proved that Beeshu understood what players wanted: comfort, control, and an edge. But Beeshu wanted more. They saw that while there were plenty of modified controllers, no one was delivering a true arcade experience for home consoles. Nintendo's NES Advantage came close, but it was still compact and didn't quite capture that authentic arcade feel. Beeshu wanted to change that. So in 1989, they released the Ultimate Superstick. The name said it all. Not just Superstick, but Ultimate Superstick. This was a full-sized arcade joystick designed for the NES, and when you saw it, you knew it meant business. It looked like it belonged in an arcade and not a living room. The Ultimate Superstick was massive, about a foot wide and nearly as deep. It had real weight, which kept it from sliding during intense gameplay. The joystick was a genuine ball-top arcade stick, the kind found on real arcade cabinets. It had that satisfying resistance and click when moved, and it snapped back to center perfectly. The buttons were large, responsive, and arranged in an ergonomic layout. They had that tactile arcade feel. When you pressed them, you knew it. The build quality was exceptional for a third-party accessory. The cable was thick and durable, the switches were solid, and the overall construction felt premium. But what really set it apart were the features. The Ultimate Superstick included Turbo Fire and Slow Motion modes. Turbo Fire could be toggled on or off for each button, with adjustable speed, perfect for shooters like Gradius or Life Force. The slow motion feature rapidly paused and unpaused the game, creating the illusion of slow motion. It didn't work perfectly with every game, but when it did, it was a game changer. This wasn't just a controller, it was a statement, and Beeshu wanted to give players power and control that no other accessory offered. Using the Ultimate Superstick was a completely different experience. For arcade-style action games like Kung Fu, Double Dragon, or Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it was incredible. The joystick gave you precision and control that the D-pad couldn't match. Fighting games and shooters felt natural and responsive. Shoot-'em-ups were where it truly shined. Games like 1943, Gun Knack, and Life Force became smoother and more enjoyable. And the joystick allowed for precise dodging, and the Turbo Fire made it easier to unleash constant attacks. However, it wasn't perfect for every genre. Platformers like Super Mario Bros. 3 or Mega Man required subtle direction control that the joystick sometimes struggled with. The D-pad was better for those pixel-perfect jumps. RPGs and menu-heavy games like Final Fantasy or Dragon Warrior also felt clunky with a joystick. The slow motion feature was a hit or miss. Some games handled it beautifully, and while others glitched or slowed down too much. And because of its size, the Ultimate Superstick wasn't ideal for casual play. It needed a flat surface and a dedicated setup. But for serious gaming sessions, it was unbeatable. So why didn't the Ultimate Superstick become a household name? The answer lies in pricing, timing, and market realities. The controller was expensive, around $40 to $60, roughly the price of a new NES game. And that made it tough to sell for parents and kids alike. Its size also limited its appeal. It wasn't practical for multiplayer households or casual gamers. Timing was another issue. By 1989, the NES was nearing the end of its life cycle. The Sega Genesis had launched, and the Super Nintendo was on the horizon. Gamers were already looking ahead to the next generation, making it harder to justify buying a premium accessory for an aging console. Beeshu also faced stiff competition. Nintendo's own accessories had the official seal of approval and better retail presence. Beeshu's marketing was limited to magazine ads and small retail displays. Despite their quality, they couldn't compete with Nintendo's brand power. And by the early 90s, Beeshu shifted focus to newer consoles but never regained momentum. Eventually, they faded from the gaming scene. Today, the Ultimate Superstick is a collector's item. Working units are rare and can sell for $50 to $150 or more, depending on condition. It's remembered fondly by those who owned one as one of the best built third-party accessories of the NES era. And more importantly, it represents a time when third-party manufacturers were bold and experimental. Companies like Beeshu weren't afraid to take risks, and the Ultimate Superstick stands as a testament to that creativity. And that's the story of the Beeshu Ultimate Superstick, the arcade controller that tried to revolutionize NES gaming. It was ambitious, well-built, and ahead of its time. And it may not have achieved mainstream success, but it left a lasting mark on gaming history. A huge thanks again to SusanFit47 for suggesting this topic. Your ideas keep this channel going strong, and if anyone else has suggestions for retro toys, games, or accessories, drop them in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into obscure NES history, hit that like button and subscribe to Jay's Retro Toys and Games for more retro goodness. Thanks for watching, keep gaming, keep collecting, and I'll see you in the next video. This is Jay, signing off for next time on Jay's Retro Toys and Games.